Russia was intensifying its attack on Ukraine's east on Tuesday as it sought a decisive victory in Mariupol, prompting Western governments to pledge more arms and sanctions. Thousands of Russian troops backed by artillery and rocket barrages were advancing in what Ukrainian officials called the Battle of the Donbass. Russia bombarded the Azovstal steel plant, the main remaining stronghold in Mariupol, with bunker-buster bombs, a Ukrainian presidential advisor said late on Tuesday, after an ultimatum by Russia for Ukrainian troops to lay down their weapons had lapsed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned Moscow for blocking any attempts to organize humanitarian corridors and save people.
The Russian army will forever inscribe itself in world history as perhaps the most barbaric and inhuman army in the world, deliberately killing civilians, destroying residential quarters and civilian infrastructure, and using all kinds of weapons, including those prohibited by international conventions, is already the brand signature of the Russian army.
The United States, Canada, Britain, France, and Germany on Tuesday pledged more support to Ukraine, including sending heavy artillery and ammunition. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby.
I would just say, without getting into what other nations are providing, that they have received additional platforms and parts to be able to increase their fleet size, their aircraft fleet size. I think I'd leave it at that.
In Mariupol, a humanitarian catastrophe has unfolded. Tens of thousands of residents have been trapped with no access to food or water, and bodies litter the streets. Ukraine believes more than 20,000 civilians have died there. Russia has denied targeting civilians in its invasion of Ukraine and says without evidence that signs of atrocities were staged. Video released by Ukraine's Azov battalion purported to show people living in the underground network beneath the steel plant, where they say hundreds of women, children, and elderly civilians are sheltering with diminishing supplies.
We lost our home. We lost our livelihood. We want to live a normal, peaceful life. We want to get out of here. There are lots of children in here. They're hungry. Get us out of here, we beg you. We've already cried out all the tears we have. We can't cry anymore.
Reuters could not independently verify where or when the video was shot. Shells and rockets also hit Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, officials said, wrecking apartment blocks and other buildings. Officials said 4 people were killed and 14 wounded. Reuters journalists saw the bodies of 3 people, apparently killed by shrapnel, lying on the pavement.
That was an update on what's happening in Ukraine from Reuters. There is no question that whenever there is war, there will be war crimes. And there is a level of dishonesty and disingenuousness that is coming from those supporters of Vladimir Putin and Putin himself, suggesting that they have the ability to execute a war with precision and that they have the ability to execute this war without killing civilians. We all know that not to be true. We all know that in the fog of war, there will be casualties and there will be war crimes, casualties amongst civilians. And this is why we advocate so vehemently against war, all wars of every stripe, from Yemen to Kiev. But yet here we are in a stage of human development where we're having what is presented as a reasonable conversation between a barbarian, the butcherer of Bucha, Vladimir Putin, and the rest of the entire international community, to which Vladimir Putin is now claiming foul. He's not pleased with the reaction from the international community, the rejection of all of Russia, quite honestly, because of his actions, the accountability. He wants to reject accountability. He wants the rest of the world to continue to treat Russia as if they are not engaged in a bloody war that is causing and committing war crimes. They want to be able to go ahead and come to the Olympics like everything is fine. They want you to go ahead and continue to bag gas from them like everything is fine. They want you to continue to invite them to the table of good faith when they have demonstrated that they have no intention whatsoever of engaging in good faith with the rest of the entire international community. And yet, here we are watching as this escalates. And having to deal with arguments from people from both sides of the political spectrum. In fact, they're so closely related. I believe the horseshoe theory has been proven. But we have people both on the left side of the equation, as well, ostensible left, and the right side of the equation, trying to make us not give a damn about the images coming out of Ukraine, of the hospitals being burned out, of the bodies on the ground. They want us to not care because they're disappointed in America. Well, get in line. Have you seen what America does to Black people? If the white supremacists of January 6th are so angry at America that they are willing to turn this country over to Vladimir Putin, as stated loosely by Steve Bannon, suggesting that we should support Vladimir Putin. Do you remember why? David, I guess I'm throwing an audible here. Go get me the clip of Steve Bannon explaining why he supported Vladimir Putin. It's where he says at least Russia knows where men and women go to the bathroom, respectively. At least this is their justification. The justification from the right wing of this country, of the United States of America, as to why we should wholesalely support Vladimir Putin and his war crimes in Ukraine is because Russia knows whose men's bathroom is whose. It is as ridiculous as it sounds, but this is what they said, and we'll have the clip for you momentarily. But here we are looking at war crimes on the international scale, and we are engaging with bad faith actors as if they had any intention of engaging in good faith in the first place. If they did, we would not be here where we are right now. There should not be a war happening right now, let alone any other war. I actually do want to shift gears pretty hard because I want to show America and the rest of the international community what America does. I want to show, actually play that clip if you have it, Dwayne. Play the clip of Steve Bannon explaining.
I'm getting it ready.
As we get that up, we'll get a chance to get that in. I want to shift gears. Your old boy in Syracuse, New York, who was brutally accosted by the Syracuse police. The video has now gone extremely viral, and everyone has seen it with their own eyes. We'll come back to the Steve Bannon clip, but I want everyone to see very clearly what America does to its people, particularly Black people. And so while we're flanking this conversation with what's happening in Ukraine, I want us to be sure that there are problems here at home. And that, say that again?
We don't have that clip.
Let's get it. Let's get that clip because it's important. It's important for us to see this clip on repeat. And this is a clip of the 8-year-old boy in Syracuse, New York, as he was being tossed around like a criminal over a bag of chips, that he had taken. Now, here's the thing. Whether or not the boy stole the bag of chips should not even come into the conversation. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about bad faith actors. There are people who are in the conversation on the national and the international scale and who are sent intentionally to obfuscate the conversation. They are sent intentionally to keep us from advancing the conversation. There are disruptors who put bad faith arguments into the national discourse. And one of the worst ones is somebody who can look at us and say he should not have stolen a bag of chips. But here we are in the year 2022, after we've seen all of the brutality, after we saw what happened to George Floyd, after we saw what happened to Tamir Rice, after we saw what happened to every Philando Castile, the names as they're coming to us, we have seen it. And we know without a shadow of a doubt that this country has a track record of treating American Black citizens like we are nothing. And they're asking us to allow them to continue to do this to our children. Brother Carl Mack, I want to bring you into the conversation before we get to that video. We played it yesterday and it's very triggering. but I need us to play it again because I want to make sure that we keep in front of America and the entire international community exactly what it is that happens in this country on a daily basis. Good morning to you, brother. How are you?
Oh, good morning, my brother. Listening to you, I and just, again, thinking about the 8-year-old boy, thinking about what's happening in Ukraine, all of these issues, Ben, there are very few times I'm just kind of speechless on something. And this issue of what is taking place, America damn near is as mad as Putin, especially when it comes to us. You know, I don't understand how you could be in that profession as a law enforcement officer. An 8-year-old child, I don't give a damn what he did, Ben. I don't care what he did.
That's right.
I don't understand how, if you are in law enforcement and you saw how polarizing, how chilling it was on May 25th, 2020, how this country came face to face with a cry that we as a people have been giving them since the advent of law enforcement. Because on that day, Ben, there was nobody that could be in denial about what we've been talking about. And now you are in that profession and you have a decision to make about, as you stated, you have a decision to make whether he stole or didn't steal. He's an 8-year-old child. You're trying to tell me this is the best that you could do in dealing with this situation is to just thug out on this child. And so, Ben, if ever there's a situation that just puts you deep inside the psyche of white America, especially around law enforcement, a situation like this. But then, I feel stupid being saying a situation like this should do it because every one of these damn situations ought to tell you.
You know what, Dr. Matt, and it's too often in this country where we have to, after seeing our loved ones treated like animals and oftentimes killed on video, we as Black people have to have and keep our composure and move along as if this is okay. But I'm going to tell you the honest truth, Dr. Mack, this right here, this particular video is enough because they require us to have no concern whatsoever for our own children. In order for us to turn an eye for this, to this, on this, away from this, in order for us to look away, we would have to have no regard for our children whatsoever. So I want to play this clip again, and I want to give a content warning. It has a lot of profanity, and it does show police violence against children. Take a look.
What is y'all doing? What are y'all doing? What is y'all doing? Guess what I'm doing. He like a baby to me. Why you? That's what I'm doing. I don't know what you doing. I just see you snatching him up off the. No. So what? So what's going on then? He's stealing stuff. If he breaks into your house to steal something. Nah, man. What he selling, a bag of chips? So y'all treat me like a whole cold-blooded fucking killer? Keep walking, dude. You don't even know what you're talking about. Keep walking. I know what I just came up and see. I know the fuck I just came up and see. Okay, what did you see? I see y'all snatching him up a bike like he a fucking grown-ass man. What's your hand? Ain't he saying it wasn't him? Fuck is y'all doing? That's crazy. How old is he? 10 years old? Fuck is y'all talking about, man? That's against the law. Fuck is y'all doing? Old, you cannot put that. What is y'all doing? Take the fucking chips. If he stole some chips, I'll pay for him. I'll pay for him. You don't even know where he lives. Y'all just throwing him in the fucking car. That's what they do. They come here. Fuck is y'all doing? Leave him alone. No camera. That's all we can do. He a kid.
Now, the father of the 8-year-old has spoken out, obviously, stating that his son was mistreated by the police. And this is exactly what I was talking about, Dr. Mack. After we see our children be accosted by the police and so oftentimes killed by the police, we have to turn around and comport ourselves and do a press conference and keep our composure in the face of a country that has made it clear that it has no regard for the safety of our children.
So, Ben, let me just tell you exactly how this, what my thoughts are right now. So right now, I feel like a punk ass. That's the way I feel. Because I'm not built to sit down and watch a videotape like this and then talk about it. That's right. It's,
That's
you know,
right.
I know what I was like when I was in them streets as a civil rights
That's right.
advocate. Ben, I'm not, you know, so right now I'm feeling some kind of way about just sitting here watching it, talking about it. You know, there's a part of, you know, I know what I would have normally done. You know, if I'm there, I just know how it is. So right now, I don't even want to say anything because I feel like
that's right.
punk. I just feel that
that's
kind
right. I
of way
understand.
because trust and believe. Me in my element, I'm gonna whoop somebody's monkey ass over this one. You trust and believe that. It's just so I ain't shit else I got to say about that. I'm in my feelings right now.
Dr. Mack, say less. I want to move now to the conversation about Marie Le Pen. And I do want to show the connectivity between all these stories, because a lot of times, Dr. Mack, things that happen there in the United States of America flies under the radar because, well, when we on the international stage, because of the complexity of what's happening on the international stage. But right now, we are faced with the resurgence of a right-wing fascistic movement across the entirety of this planet. We've seen it in Vladimir Putin without question. We saw it with the comeback of the rise, rather, of Donald Trump. And now we're seeing it with the comeback of Marie Le Pen. According to The Guardian, they are reporting that the televised debate between French President Emmanuel Macron, who has taken a hard stance against Vladimir Putin, and his far-right rival, Marie Le Pen, could determine the course of this weekend's election in France. On April 20th, the highly anticipated debate was screened live on television, radio, and online, and reports say that the debate's first clash occurred over salaries when Macron gets into the minutia. But here's what I want to point out, the most important thing is, Emmanuel Macron only leads Marie Le Pen by 12 points, and there's 13% who are undecided. Here's why this matters. Dr. Mack, for those who don't even have any idea who Marie Le Pen is and care about French politics, she is another piece in the right-wing playbook, chess playbook of Vladimir Putin. And they are a part of this right-wing cabal, and they have no compunction whatsoever about their right-wing hardline fascism. They are very clear. And so is Marie Le Pen, which is why this is atrocious. For those people who aren't looking on the international stage, while we are seeing January 6th happen here domestically, while we are seeing the police state do what it does to Black people every single day, we are also seeing their allies, the allies of January 6ers, the allies of the people who are opposing critical race theory anywhere they see it, even in math books. The allies of that right-wing movement are winning and closing in the gap on the international stage. And it really is kind of a salt in an open wound for anyone who watches international politics. Dr. Mack, we saw Marie Le Pen defeated 4 years ago, and here we now see her coming back with the possibility of she was defeated and now coming back and getting this crown. This would be just like Donald Trump coming back in 2024. If we're not careful, we could see this happening here in the United States.
Man, you know, and I'm going to put this way, and I certainly don't want every woman out there in the world to take issue with me about this. But there was a time in my life, up until this very, very moment with this woman, that I honestly believed that the world would be a much, much better and safer place if women ruled the world in politics and in business, because they just didn't appear to have that kind of nastiness that we as the male species does. And now I'm looking at this chick. I'm looking at this crazy ass woman here in this country.
That's right.
Give me
Marjorie Neanderthal Green. Go ahead.
So see, these two women have absolutely put the brakes. Now women around the world, in general, I think you're brilliant. Now, I would just tell you, and I've said this to you before, my ex-wife, she ain't the smartest person I ever dated. My ex-wife is the smartest person I know. She, you know, it ain't like she's just the smartest woman. The woman is brilliant. So I hold women in high regard. But I'm going to tell you something, members of the female species. These cruiser-eating heifers, they set it back in my mind. I'm just letting you know. These two ain't doing no favor her and Marjorie Taylor. Now, if I was all of y'all, I'd be like, damn it, do you know that Brother Mac was on the verge of giving us world-renowned leadership?
Oh, man.
Two buffoons. And then think about that, though. You know, and I hate to make light of what you're saying, but I'm just letting you inside my mind here, right? But Ben, think about it. How could somebody in the midst of watching what Putin is doing, how could you be undecided? How could you be? So when you talk about, and Ben, I will tell you this. Sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I think Ben might be going a little bit too far when he's thinking about right-wing world domination. Sometimes I think that, you know, maybe Ben's just a little out there. The more I'm listening to you and I'm watching these pieces fall into place, the more dead on you are, my brother. So I want to thank you for enlightening me and showing me because you have been saying that, Ben, and I promise to you, I've kind of, you know, I love you, black man.
You thought I was losing it for a second there, didn't you?
Just a little bit, Ben. Just like, you know, damn, it's every day 420 for Ben. It's been celebrating every damn day. But the more I'm watching and these pieces fall into place, the more insightful I'm finding you to be. So,
man, Brother Mac, I appreciate your honesty. And this is why I love this. I love talking with you because one thing we do is we tell each other the truth. We don't care where we are, even if we're on live. Right. And it's beautiful.
I'm saying I got to believe that, you know, maybe women want to say, oh, you know, I didn't think Karl Mack was sexist. I'm not sexist. I'm just telling you, for you brilliant sisters out there,
that's right.
Y'all better galvanize and take these two wenches and y'all better they not helping the cause. I'm telling you.
Here's the thing I was going to say, Brother Mac. Here's the analysis. Here's the thing. Actually, I didn't lose my mind this summer. We've been going through a whole pandemic in the country that has allowed. I think at the peak we had like 2,000 or 3,000 people dying a day. So you know, I think all of us has suffered some level of mental health crisis during this pandemic, and if we didn't, I wonder what's wrong with them. But to your point, it is a very salient point, Brother Mac. There's this thing that particularly liberals like to do, which is to say everything is fine so long as we put up the right percentage of women, the right percentage of Black people, the right percentage of LGBTQIA. Like, we don't have to change the system so long as we have a particular type of representation. And we see specifically with Marie Le Pen, as well as Marjorie Neanderthal Green, that just putting, I mean, hell, we could think of Clarence Thomas. You know what I mean? Everyone who looks like us doesn't represent us. And that fake and empty, meaningless representation has to come to an end. So.
Enough said, brother. You know, my mentor has always told me when somebody says all there needs to say, there really ain't much else to. So I'm going to leave that right there.
Say less. We're going to move on to another Neanderthal out of the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis is pushing his fight with Disney even further. And this is in his election year, Dr. Mack. Now, Disney finally came out against the Don't Say Gay legislation and the anti-trans legislation in the state of Florida that directly targets LGBTQ youth, children. Disney finally, after the legislation had been signed into law, finally came out. So I don't want us to exonerate Disney or elevate Disney because they should have said something before it was signed into law. But now they've chosen their sides. And Ron DeSantis said that's too much. Even though Disney didn't say anything until after the law came into being, Ron DeSantis says that is entirely too much. And now he's trying to revoke their special privilege that they have in the state of Florida. He is picking this fight, Dr. Mack, during an election year. I'm not entirely sure if it was the smartest move, but considering Disney did nothing until the last second, maybe he doesn't expect Disney to actually do anything to fight back, which is why he's being cavalier. I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't seem like good politics to attack Disney in the heart of Florida during his reelection year. What do you think?
Being it is absolutely, first of all, he absolutely knows what he's doing. And it is absolutely good politics when you are playing from his playbook. Go back from the moment that this clown started. You got to remember, first and foremost, I have told you, I've said it over and over again, trust and believe that the playbook for politics and the Republican Party has been established by negative 45. The moment that they are, and I love the name that you've given Marjorie Green Taylor, Neanderthal. From the moment that negative 45, the king of the Neanderthals, from the moment that he put that playbook out, he flipped the whole game, Ben. Everybody now decided the more radical on that side of it that I can go, the more endearing there's a certain group of people are going to be with me. Now, Ben, just slow down for a moment and just think. The more radical I can be, the more support I'm going to be. Remember, negative 45, who was it that he didn't talk about? Negative 45 is going into an election, and he is on videotape talking about what he can do to women whenever, however, whatever. And through all of that, this fool gets elected. At that point, when he became negative 45, he just said whatever he wanted to say,
That's right.
Do whatever he wanted to do. To involve Russians in American politics, to now cause a riot, an insurrection against American democracy, and now there's still talk of him running again.
Yeah.
At this point, he didn't show you we could do whatever. So now take this down to Florida. And DeSantis has been saying, he's been acting for the longest that he wanted to be next in line to run for president. And he wants to appeal to negative 45's base. You can't be no more appealing than to go after Mickey Benny.
Which has been an interesting partnership since the beginning, right? I want to get to that conversation in a minute because we have clips of Ron DeSantis making this declaration, but we also have a second clip of them protesting, these supporters, these negative 45 Donald Trump supporters that you speak of, protesting outside of Disney. I want us to run the first clip. This is Ron DeSantis escalating his war on Disney because of their disagreement. Let's take a listen.
But I am announcing today that we are expanding the call of what they are going to be considering this week. And so, yes, they will be considering the congressional map, but they also will be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Now, that particular district is the district that is inclusive of Disney's special privilege that they have enjoyed for decades. Now, I don't personally care about that privilege. I'm not going to support a corporation's tax incentive, right? So I'm not going to get caught in that trap. But at the end of the day, what this does ultimately is creates that fury that you were talking about, Dr. Mack. Here's a clip of Donald Trump supporters outside of Disney saying that if you go to or support Disney, you are a pedophile. I shit you not. Let's take a listen in.
If you do business with Disney, you support pedophiles. You support child molesters, groomers, creepy old people that prey on children, child porn freaks. We say no to all of them. We say no. No more. No more business with Disney. Go woke, go broke. You go woke, you go broke. Shame on all of you that go into Disney and give them your money. Shame. Shame on all of you. We love our wonderful Governor Ron DeSantis, who's protecting our children, who's protecting our future generation. Thank God DeSantis is alive, and he's fighting for Floridians and across the country. Yeah, you put your thumb down because you support pedophiles. You weirdos, you leftists, you Marxists and communists. You support that. You support pedophiles and groomers and child molesters and child porn freaks and weirdos. We say no to all that. We say no to all that.
But yet, Dr. Mack, these people don't say no to the violence that we just saw against that young 8-year-old black boy. They don't say anything about the violence that we see against black people all around this country, against brown people and black people all across the global South. We don't see them say anything. Matter of fact, they're on the opposite side. They support Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, and they say nothing about the war in Yemen, where children are starving by the hundreds of thousands. Last year, 400,000. They estimated 400,000 people, children, starved in Yemen. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Mack.
Help me remember this, Ben. I'm having a very senior moment now. There was a racial situation in this country during Negative 45's administration in Charlotte, I believe.
Yeah, Charlottesville. Mm-hmm.
What did Negative 45 say about that?
There were good people on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought that wasn't rhetorical.
That's right. That's right. There are good people on both sides. So when you asked a question about what we would think or they would expect to say about what happened to that 8-year-old child, you absolutely know it. So, again, Ben, listen at what this man said. Our beloved Governor DeSantis.
That's right.
This is the base that he is playing to. And he could not take a more solid position in trying to appeal to that base than to go after Mickey and Minnie. This is exactly what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. But trust and believe this, Ben. I was in the state of Washington when the company that was founded in the state, anchored and rooted in the state, decided to move their world headquarters out of the state of Washington and move, I believe, to Chicago. That was the Boeing Airplane Company. That was, now granted that Boeing has hangars and they have a tremendous amount of facilities, so they couldn't uproot and just move everything. But the world headquarters, that was a blow to the city of Seattle. It was a blow to the state of Washington. Trust and believe, Ben, that if there was a place that had the kind of climate that maybe Florida has, and Disney could just uproot everything, if Disney took the same kind of approach that, say, Elon Musk did with California. Elon Musk said, you know what, California, I'm sick and tired of dealing with your Jerry Lewis nonsense. So I'm up out of here. And he took his business to Texas. And there were
Lord. James, paid some. I forgot Dr. Carl Mack liked Elon Musk. I forgot you're going to use him in a positive way.
Wait a minute. Now, listen. I can appreciate the man's genius. But again, when you genius like that, you are so thin on the other side of insanity. So, the things that I like, but look.
Maybe that's what happened to me this summer, Dr. Mack. I'm sorry. Listen, I need you to hold that thought only because we're coming up on the break. Please hold that thought. Don't lose it. When we come back, we're going to be on the clock with Georgia Fort. DJ Exclusive is in the house. We will be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show right after this break.